Hello Pauper players and perhaps persons peeking into the Pauper playroom. Welcome to my channel. My name is Newt Grundy and today I'm bringing you yet another Baldur's Gate brew. We are talking Token Stompy, a low to the ground aggro deck using tokens to pump up our 1-drops and run over our opponent at breakneck speeds. Real quick before we get into it, if you want to check out the description, I got links to my Twitch as well as other videos of me jamming jank just like this. But for now, come with me and I'm going to show you how to crank that jank with plenty of swank. Take it from the bank because the jank is dank. Put it back in the bank and then you say to me, hey, new thanks. Alright y'all, enough preamble, let's get straight into it, starting off with Cloakwood Swarmkeeper, new from Baldur's Gate. This is a 1/1 for 1 green mana that says whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Cloakwood. And next to this, we have Glimmerbairn, a 1/2 for 1 green mana that says we can sack a token to give them +2/+2 until end of turn. So these creatures are very similar with their own advantages and disadvantages, but what they have in common is they don't care about us sustaining a board full of tokens. Instead, we can play our tokens, use them as food, and get them for beats right away. So talking token production, we have a playset of Chatter of the Squirrel. Hang in there folks, stay with me. This is a 1 green sorcery that makes a 1/1 squirrel, and we can cast it from our grave with flashback for 1 green 1 any. What's key here is how Swarmkeeper works, because Swarmkeeper does not trigger for each token, but for each instance of creating tokens. So Chatter of the Squirrel is going to give us 2 triggers. Chatter of the Squirrel is also very good against counter spells. If we are staring down the barrel of 2 untapped islands, we can make sure to resolve at least one of our squirrels, which is going to make a big impact on our board. Moving on to our other 1-drops, we have a playset of Tukatong Thallid. I love this name. This is a 1/1 for 1 green that when it dies, it makes a Sapperling token. And very similar to this, we have Blister Pod, a 1/1 for 1 green mana that when it dies, it makes an Eldrazi Scion token, which we can sacrifice for 1 colorless. So both these creatures fare very well against removal. Not only do they both replace themselves, but they give us tokens which we can use to our full advantage. But if our opponent isn't playing any removal spells or interaction, no worries, we can just sacrifice them to Biograph, which is a 5/4 plant dog for 5 mana, or we can pay a measly 2 mana and sacrifice a creature. Biograph has been aptly nicknamed in the community Paupergoyf. Shoutouts to Modern and Legacy. We too and Pauper have our very own obscenely large undercosted green 2-drop. Let's go. Now, getting big creatures early on is fun and all, but if they get chump blocked, that's no good. So we need to give them trample. We can do that with a playset of Rancor and a playset of Fist of Ironwood. Fist of Ironwood works especially well with Glimmer and Cloakwood. And play one of these on turn 1, turn 2 enchant it with Fist of Ironwood, giving it trample and pumping them up right away. Rancor works very well with Tukatong Thallid and Blister Pod since they replace themselves and Rancor simply goes back to our hand. This allows us to really push through removal. We don't even necessarily have to fall behind in card advantage if our opponent hits us with a sweeper. Being able to keep creatures on the board also synergizes well with Scatter of the Seeds. This is a 5 mana instant that makes 3 Sapperlings and it has Convoke, meaning when we cast it we can tap creatures to pay for 1 mana each respectively. Instant speed is what really is key here. If our back is against a wall, we can chump block with our creatures and tap them before damage to replace them all with Sapperlings, or we can simply take advantage of the instant speed to more effectively play around counter spells and interaction. Now, lastly for our spells, we have a playset of Vines of Vastwood. This is a 1 mana instant that says target creature can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control this turn. We can kick it for 1 green to give that creature +4/+4 until end of turn. So obviously we can use this to protect our larger threats. We can use this to sneak in that last bit of damage, but Vines is also especially tricky because of the way it's worded. We can target our opponent's creatures and keep them from targeting their own creatures with spells. So the classic move here in Pauper is letting our opponent discard all their cards to Tireless Tribe, simply to make it so they can't target it with Inside Out. We are also seeing the rise of hot dogs, as well as the ever-present Is It Blitz. Similarly, we can sit back and watch them cast all their spells, only to essentially counter their Temur Battle Rage. Moving on to our lands, yet even more token production, 4 copies of Colony Garden, enters tap, taps for green, makes a 0/1 plant, and 3 copies of Cradle of the Accursed. Yeah, I know, 2 deck techs in a row. You guys are gonna think I have some sort of thing for Cradle of the Accursed. It really just works super well in this deck. You don't have to sacrifice speed. Every other land taps for green, so we don't have to worry about the colorless too much. And I can't emphasize enough how nice it is having an uncounterable creature attached to one of our lands. Rest of the mana base, we got 13 Forest. Moving on to the sideboard, we have 3 copies of Gutshot for Delver, Mogwarts, and Elves, 2 copies of Aerial Volley for Fairies, Bird tokens, maybe even getting a Bone Picker out of the way. We are now entering Monastery's Swift Spear meta, as well as seeing the rise of Blood Burn, so 3 copies at least of Weather the Storm is essential. Then we got 3 copies of Relic of Progenitus for hating on the grave, especially against Turbofog and Familiars. 3 copies of Gleeful Sabotage, consistent, efficient 2-for-1 removal against artifacts and enchantments. And we have 1 copy of Spider Silk Armor for Suffocating Fumes, Electrickery, and the like. Real quick in regards to the art for Spider Silk Armor, isn't that just Princess Leia fighting a dragon with a knife? Looks pretty cool. Did you guys see Obi-Wan? I really liked it. Anyway, that is Token Stompy for Pauper. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. If you want to hang with me and the rest of the Jank Gang, you can do that at twitch.tv/NewtGrundy. Links in the description for that and other videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.